Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Saturday show, the Saturday edition of Investing Bros. What is going on with everybody? It is a fantastic Saturday, the first official Saturday of college football season, which is awesome. But that's the end of the show. We're talking crypto, guys. We're going to kind of wrap up the week. What was happening this week? What's happening on the charts? We did get Bitcoin coming back down to that support range we have been talking about on this channel for a very, very long time now. What does it do next, though, is the question. We are seeing Bitcoin whales buying billions of dollars of Bitcoin. So that has to bring back into the equation the question, could 25,000 be the bottom? We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more. We have some other stories breaking. Usually Saturdays are a little lighter on the news, but there are some other news stories to cover. We're going to break that down a lot more, but it's Saturday, so we're going to have a lot of fun, guys. We're going to be joking around. We're going to be looking at charts, doing the news, and at the end, we will talk a little bit of college football. But I promise you, for anyone who does not like football, who does not like sports ball, you won't have to deal with that until the end of the show, so don't worry. Go ahead and smash that like button, and if you are new here, thank you so much for choosing the Investing Bros this morning. Go ahead and hit subscribe. We are quickly growing towards 5,000 subscribers, and we're coming up. We have a couple more months here, and we will officially have our first anniversary of the channel. That will be later on in November. Hit that like button if you guys are excited for that. We're definitely going to have to do something special. With that said, though, I'm joined by my co-host, the amazing, fantastic, handsome, not bald, T-Shroom down from Florida. Look at that. Oh, well, that's a bad angle. Take your headphone off. Yeah, there we go. Okay, there's some hairs out there. There we go. Yeah. How you doing, T-Shroom?
Well, I'm better than I deserve, Tim. I'm better than I deserve. Yeah. But I do have a bit of a somber quote of the day. But as we read it, we may get a little bit of change of our thoughts on it. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. It takes no more time to see the good side of life than to see the bad. That is from Jimmy Buffett. Rest in peace. It is true, folks. He has passed on. He's no longer with us. But he has left so much on this earth, so many positive impressions, touch so many lives in a positive way.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Jimmy Buffett, R.I.P. I'm going to be honest. I don't necessarily listen to Jimmy Buffett. Obviously, he had a big impact on the music world, so there's a lot of things and people that have been influenced by him. So I've definitely engaged with music inspired by Jimmy Buffett. I don't know if I listen to that much Jimmy Buffett music myself. T-Shroom, do you? What's your favorite song from Jimmy Buffett?
Well, I'm sure you've heard, so I'll just go to my screen. I'm not going to pretend like I'm a huge Jimmy Buffett fan, but Margaritaville, obviously.
Yes,
yep. An American beachside anthem, right? You've got 5 O'Clock Somewhere, a good one for
classic.
Alcoholics or Alcoholics in Denial. And then the rest of them, probably Why Don't We Get Drunk, again, another good one. Bahama Breeze. So it's like, it's a lot of good time feeling vibes, a lot of beachside vibes. Margaritaville, though, far and away, I believe, probably the biggest song there from Jimmy. But there's like a lot of deep lore to Jimmy too. He's got a lot of those like kind of lesser known albums that folks really rage out to as well. So,
well, rest in peace. Prayers and thoughts with all of his family that he leaves behind. Jimmy Buffett, you were amazing. Let's go ahead and move on in here, T-Shroom, though. Let's engage with this fantastic community chat. We got 40 people in here. A little bit slower than other Saturdays, but we got a 3-day weekend, probably a lot of people heading out on vacation. We'll go ahead and cover this. We'll say it later, too. I think T-Shroom and I were talking. We were on the fence about whether or not we're going to do a Monday show, and I think we're leaning towards we're just going to go ahead and take the day to spend with our family and friends. So we will not be having a show on Monday morning, but we will be back Tuesday. So after today, look forward to see you guys in a couple days. Enjoy your guys' weekend. Enjoy whatever you guys have planned. I've been talking with a couple people, people out having breakfast with family, going off on trips, going on vacations. Let us know. Put in chat. What are you guys doing for Labor Day? We'll have that conversation a little bit later. But let's read some names in chat. Maybe we might even have time to read all of the names, especially if I speed run it, T-Shroom. So here we go. Got to spend some time on the podium.
Tim, are you clicking a pen or something?
Do you want me to?
That is very loud. You and that pen, man. I'll tell you what.
All right. We're going to keep moving on here, though. Podium winners this morning. Eric Wallen coming in first place. A Mellow Fellow coming in second place. And Elo Brown wrapping up the podium. Congratulations to 3 of the most faithful watchers of the entire community. You guys are fantastic, and we love you. Next up, we have Army Piper is here. Okay. Mikey Hunt Azaichi is here as well.
Is he Japanese?
I think so. That pretty sure it's a Japanese name.
That's just a fun name.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Let's see who else is here. Ninja Glock is here. Swag Schmitty. That's a great name. Like, have I not gotten to read Swag Schmitty before? Because that's a green name. That means it's a member. Thank you so much, Swag Schmitty. And you have one of my favorite names. So congratulations to you. Who else do we have here? Juice Toes is here. Drew P. Let's see. Okay. I don't know if that's actually like his name is Drew and then his last name starts with P, or is that a pun? Because we got a couple of those in here. But Drew, good to see you here, man. So glad you are here. Who else do we have? John Foster Crypto is here. Jack Meoffer is here, of course. Everyone loves Jack. Nancy Croy is here. Matt C. At the beginning of a show. This is a miracle, ladies and gentlemen, but it is later in the morning. We are so excited to have Matt C. here. The Thumbnail Investor is here. Is that a thing? Do people invest in thumbnails? Maybe. That's interesting. Servando Estrada.
Wait, okay, well, that's actually a really interesting name. The Thumbnail Investor. I think what that means is like he's making investment decisions based on thumbnails, which is as someone who makes way more thumbnails than I should, that is a really interesting thought.
Yeah, you also missed my setup for
Servando Estrada.
All right, well, it's too late and you missed it. Silver Dalla is here. Silva Dalla. Love it, love it, love it. Good to have you back here, my friend. Haven't got to read your name in a little while. Hope I get to read it more often. Here we go. Testicless. Testicless is here, and I know exactly who it is.
This is getting out of hand.
It's gonna get worse, I think, as we keep going. But anyway, Gregory Letner is here. Good to have you here, Gregory. Let's see a couple more here. That might be 6Y Cowboy is here. Is that a Wyoming cowboy? Meek Vision is here. Mike Norm. And I think David Galfand is also here. And I think that might be Jenny from the blockchain. We're going to wrap it up there. That is all the names. I got everybody. So today, you guys all know that I love you. And it's time to go ahead and move on into the show. Welcome 662 Matt as well. And Patata 2020 Crypto. And Dave P. You guys are awesome as well as Ezekiel Elliott, Elliott Locke. That was bad, guys. Okay. This is not even an early morning. I don't know what my excuse is for that one. I just saw Elliott and I said Ezekiel Elliott, the running back for the now New England Patriots. So, okay, we're going to get into the crypto stuff before this derails even farther. Guys, if you are enjoying the show so far this morning, go ahead and hit the like button. Different morning because it is Saturday. We're not going to go through economic outlook. We're just going to go really quickly through liquidations and everything else. Let's go to my screen here, T-Shroom.
Let's do it.
Looking at the last 24 hours, Bitcoin is a green box this morning. That means bearish. That means more longs were liquidated. That means 15 million longs liquidated on Bitcoin versus only 7.7 million shorts were liquidated. Ethereum says 13 million longs, $13 million worth of longs were liquidated versus only 3.7 million shorts. Cyber is actually more in the, has a red box, meaning it was bullish. There were 6.9 million shorts liquidated versus only 3.5 million longs. Others, once again, kind of up here in the top area. So there you are with liquidations. Let's take a look at Trueflation this morning. Did it move at all? Nope, not really. 2.68. It's kind of hovering. I guess it says it's a little bit down from yesterday here, but that's a good sign here. We're not going to go spend too much time here. CME futures now saying 94%. They're going to have a pause there. Good for them. 39 on the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. So we are ticking down a little bit from yesterday. We did drop again. We're going to look at this in the charts in just a second. We did drop down to that zone again we've been discussing. So potentially we're going to get some form of a bounce. with the news we had, maybe, but we'll have to continue to watch that throughout the rest of the show and early into next week. Let's look at our coin market cap open of the day. Bitcoin is technically up 0.7%, nothing big. Ethereum up 0.5%. Let's see. BNB up 1%. Any big movers here? XRP down technically by 0.04, but that could turn green literally while we're speaking. Cardano up 0.4. Nothing really that big. Litecoin up 2% there. Bitcoin Cash down 1.63%. Stellar down 1.6%. But yeah, top 20, top 30, nothing really that big is moving. Let's take a look at the last 24 hours of the biggest gainers and losers. SafePal is up 8.62%. The Woo Network up 3%. Synthetics up 3%. XDC up 3%. Phantom almost up 3%. They were up yesterday as well. Let's take a look at our biggest losers here. Not a lot of losers necessarily. DYDX down 3%, Stacks down 3%. Axie Infinity down almost 3%. Pepe down 2.5%. HBAR continues to drop. They're down 14% this week. Remember, HBAR was one of those that had a really nice rally here a couple of weeks ago. So it's kind of more experiencing some bearishness over the last couple of weeks, down 14% the last week. So yeah, there we go. There's our biggest gainers, biggest losers. Out of curiosity, Toncoin up almost 30% this week. Very interesting. Maker up 10%. Thorchain up 10%. What's our biggest losers? Let's see. Sui is down 17%, and then HBAR coming in second place at that 14. KuCoin down 13, although a lot of KuCoin's losses came literally just yesterday. They were down like almost 8%, I think, yesterday alone. So kind of not a crazy volatile week, but we did have some coins take big gains and big losses. Guys, it is time for technical analysis. But T-Shroom, do we have on a Saturday edition, do we have a fact of the day?
We do
question
not.
of the day?
The Saturday edition does not come with a factoid of the day. The elves do not work on Saturday, unfortunately. But I did a little bit of research into Toncoin. Did you know that Toncoin is basically a rebrand of a coin that Telegram's the company made? So Telegram made their own blockchain and everything, and then I guess they abandoned the project probably because it was just too much for them to do.
Okay.
But it sounds like a group of open source developers kind of took it over, and that's what Toncoin is. So it's probably pretty well developed, and then got picked up by some independent developers, and I think that's why it's so it's done so well over the last couple of weeks, is because it seems like it's very grassroots. It was top down, and then it was abandoned, and then it was brought back up. So I don't know. That's at least what I did. That's what I found in my quick research on it. So
interesting. Yeah, good little tidbit. That was your fact of the day, even if it wasn't in the quiz form, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go and do our charts, though. So yesterday was the 1st of September, and I didn't even go out. This is completely my bad, guys. I didn't go out and look at the monthly charts and start talking about that again. So we're going to do that. But first, let's try to take a quick look at the price action here recently. I told you guys that more than likely we were going to be coming back down into this lower level of support. We ended up coming all the way down to about 25,300, almost on the dot. In fact, if I put my thing right over there, if I put the cursor right over it, the low exactly on Coinbase was $25,307. So back in this support zone. Notice, though, we have high volume. Not crazy high volume, but high volume. What have we talked about on this show a lot recently is that more often than not, I'm not saying never, this is not a 100% time thing, but more often than not, when you have a high volume bottom, you're probably not done coming to those levels. Over here, we had high volume. We told you guys more than likely we're coming back down in that range. Even though we didn't have as much volume, we still had a little bit of a pickup of volume when we came down and retouched those levels. But we did not get any type of major breakout coming right after. We kind of got boring. And while we did have the good news, of course, we're going to probably reflect on this a little bit more later on in the show. But of course, the Grayscale lawsuit win did give us some good volume on a breakout, just as we had predicted. We would come back up in this T-box. I thought we'd go a little bit higher towards the blue line. We did not. But then bad news comes in with delays to Bitcoin ETFs, which is, again, another thing we predicted, and it brought us back down. But we've kind of restarted this cycle now with spiking volume coming back down to these lows. More than likely, we're at least coming back down to these levels once again. You guys know I want to see a low volume spring at these levels. The only time, and I will tell you guys, the only time I do think potentially we could see high volume come in and be the bottom is if we do end up coming down below $20,000. I'm expecting, if you were to go to the daily chart, if I could predict this with perfection, I'm going to expect a candle to probably be somewhere in the range of $23,000, $22,500. It's going to be a big, big drop with a wick crashing all the way down here towards 19,000. Again, I'm thinking 700, 19,700, 19,900 is my area. I'm kind of watching for a wick. I'm probably buying somewhere around the 19,900 just to be safe. But watch that wick then shoot back up and the candle close back above 21,000. And that one absolutely might be a high volume bottom. But then what's going to happen is high volume will continue to come in as we shoot back to the upside. So that's one exception. For now, though, in this more boring range, now that we've seen a volume spike during a low, I'm expecting us to at least come back down and retest these levels. But now let's take a look at the monthly chart, guys. And we're going to do some chart prime stuff here in just a second. So in case any of you are wondering, what is chart prime talking about? We're going to talk about that here in just a couple seconds. But I want to talk about the monthly chart. I put out a tweet yesterday. I said something in the Discord. If you guys missed it, we're kind of reference the same thing. Remember, when we closed red in July, we told you guys, we went back and did the analysis. In fact, do we still have it? No, I think I changed what I used this chart for. You're going to have to go ahead and just trust me on this one. There's videos we talked about this in the past, but historically, every single red July, there's been 4 of them to this point. All 4 of those in the past were all followed by red Augusts, right? One of them then had us have a green September, but the other 3 all had red Septembers as well. So now the question is, we got the first part of this right. Bitcoin is now 5 for 5 on closing red Julys followed by red Augusts. The question, and I want to hear what you guys in chat think, is what will September end up doing? Will September end up being red as well, or will we see a short green candle before a red October? And you guys know, oh, isn't that a song? Is that a band? Is that a band called Red October, T-Shroom?
Red October? No, it's a movie.
It's a movie?
Yeah, it's an old movie about submarines, I think.
Oh, okay. Anyway, little tidbit there. I think that whether October ends up closing green or red, I'm not 100% certain, but I am expecting the bottom of this dip to happen in October before November and December really get us back up, starting a push into the April halving event. But what do you guys think in chat? We did just get a super chat from Tess Tickles saying, I'd appreciate if you pronounce my name correctly. Listen, I don't know who you are. So sorry. I'm trying to keep this family friendly. And in fact, I do know exactly who this is. So that's all the more reason why I'm not going to read the name. But thank you so much for that super chat in a way.
Testicles, why are you so salty?
Yeah. Sounds like the type of person that likes to eat pickles. So I'm going to stay there. All right. We're going to keep moving on here, though. But this is really important, guys. I do think that either both September and October are going to be red, or one will be very slightly green with the other being red. Either way, I think we're closing October somewhere in the range back up here above 23,000. I think we'll close above where we closed here, or opened here in March. But don't be surprised to see a wick kind of matching that same wick we had in March of 2023. That's what I'm looking at, though. Let's go back over here, though, and take a look at what the rest of the weekend might look like according to Chart Prime. Let me go ahead and fix this. Okay, because when I zoom in this far, there we go, guys. There we go. All right. So even though we have dropped here, we still didn't get a reversal flash on the 4-hour chart. Yeah, we had the MVP oscillator come in. We talked about this yesterday, but no Christmas tree ornaments. That makes me sad. It's not time for Christmas yet, according to Chart Prime here. I know we have them on the hourly chart for sure. It's going to be here. If not, I will give T-Shroom a big hug. No hugs for T-Shroom because we did get that reversal, but we got no green price action from our MVP oscillator. So that's very, very, very curious. You did see also we had some bullish divergence here on the 4-hour chart. Very easy to see. You're going to see it on the chart prime oscillator, but you're going to also see from the RSI, trying to move this up so you can see it. Look at those levels. Obviously, we set a higher low, but the price action clearly set a lower low. So bullish divergence for sure. I discussed on the BitBoy channel yesterday, because I did get to do TA for that channel. I discussed a potential pullback up to 26,000. Do not be surprised if we see price action push up here, hit 26,000, maybe have a wick above, but I don't think go too much further, and then come back down to the downside, because when you come back out to this 4-hour chart, I'm not necessarily seeing that it's saying that this little dip should be over. In fact, not going to be surprised at all to see us touch there, flip back over, and come to the downside and get some sort of buy. Or even worse, do we end up dropping below 25,000? This is going to be a big deal. You guys know I think we're going to do it, but I do know that it's going to take some news catalysts, especially with the fact that we're going to be covering a fact, not an opinion article. A fact is that people are buying Bitcoin right now. So it is going to take some form of a big catalyst story to break to say it's time for Bitcoin to drop even lower. We got another super chat from CryptoSec Guy.
What do you mean another
Guy,
one? That's his first.
Not so secret agent of chaos again. You know, we have a lot of people here. How's Georgia Tech this year, Tim? Good question. Let's talk about that during college football section. CryptoSec Guy will put a pin in it, but thank you for the money there. T-Shroom, do you have a thought about what we're talking about so far? Anything you're seeing in chat we should respond to? What time do we have? We still have, I could probably do at least one more coin now, and then later on in the show, if we still have time, we could do some more Q&A.
What you need to take a look at is oil, Tim, because look at this. Oil is in the premium zone here on the 4-hour. It is up to $85.98, almost to $86. Ticker is USOIL, US oil. So take a look at that, Tim, and see what's going on with that. I mean, that's mostly supply and demand driven.
Yeah.
So what you'll have to realize is it's not so much technical. You know, it's very much more, supply and demand.
What's the ticker for what you're looking at?
USOIL. But it's a huge input into inflation. You know, we do not want to see oil going higher, and it is. So
yeah, no, it's absolutely going higher. Let's see what we're seeing on indicators here, oscillators as well.
Little cup and handle pattern there.
Yes, it is, but I don't like. It's a little bit of a cup and handle. If it's the case, it's not going to be that significant. So let me do this. So with cup and handle, you don't really want to slant your breakout. So what we're going to kind of do here is give us a flat cup. We're just going to let that be an outlier, but we'll still utilize it. So best case scenario on this cup and handle, we see oil. When I say best case scenario, it's just in terms of price action. We could see it go up to $91.23 if we're going to use that as a cup and handle formation. Mm-hmm. Anyone who's wondering what T-Shroom is talking about there, because maybe some of you guys haven't seen a cup and handle.
Maybe you've never seen a cup.
I hope some of you have. You can see this formation right here. Whenever we have a big scoop right here and a flat level, again, that's why I'm kind of using those wicks as outliers. On head and shoulders and inverse head and shoulders, you can have a slanted shoulder line. With cup and handle, you're looking really more like this area. You take the breakout of the handle portion and then you move it to the upside. So that's what a cup and handle is. This is not an inverse head and shoulders pattern, because this would have to be that left shoulder. And you can see, well, technically one wick goes below on the head. You're never going to see a shoulder go lower or higher than the head. So this is not an inverse head and shoulders pattern. It's simply a cup and handle formation. But we did get a nice buy signal. Even though we didn't get the Christmas tree ornaments here, no reversal, we did get the MVP oscillator as well as the RSI giving us an engulfing candle. So that was a good little bottom call right there. I think it's going to be interesting to watch if I were to pull up multi-time frame support and resistance. We're out here on the daily chart. We are sitting at a bunch right here. Or no, I guess not a bunch, just one of them. So that is our 4-hour. I got to go down to the 4-hour chart to see this better, because I want to see the 4-hour as well. There's a little pocket of resistance sitting right here where we currently are. What did I say with that breakout prediction? I said
91.
That would be 91. Okay, because we do have right here at 92.31 the strongest. I believe that's my 12-hour. That's my 12-hour resistance level. So that's kind of giving us some confirmation. More than likely somewhere in that range could be an interesting spot to look at. Let's also take a look at maybe a Fibonacci level here. Let's go down to the daily chart. Let's take a look at some other things that have happened here going all the way. I'm going to go to this peak instead of this one over here. I want to see just from this peak down to the wick of the bottom. What do we have? We're coming up on the 0.38. That's kind of where we currently are, rejecting there. But the next one, $93, is right at the 0.5. That, of course, is the places where we double top. Let me spread this out so people can see this a little bit better. That's, of course, a double top just happened back in October and November of 2022. So another kind of interesting spot to watch just by looking at candles and looking at the charts. You could see traders of oil kind of looking at those levels and saying that's the better place for rejection. Because like we said, we have room to run here. We are not overextended. We had an overbought all the way down here at 77, but then we set up bearish divergence, had a very small correction. I think you have a lot of room to run here with oil, T-Shroom. Good call, good chart to pull up. And then, yeah, what are the effects that this has on the economy? Gas prices going up, costs of goods going up. This definitely is not a good chart to go up and to the right.
Yeah, definitely not. And if you think about adding on to the cost of a company like UPS that just signed with the Teamsters, higher, better working conditions and presumably higher wages for what it was like part-time workers. These are just more costs that are getting added into a very low layer of the economy of just general transport of goods. That's going to translate into higher inflation, unfortunately. It's going to either translate into higher inflation or some sort of outsourcing to, automation or robots or something south of the border. They're going to have to push that cost somewhere in order to stay operational and return to shareholders. So, it's not a good tale that's winding up for inflation. But, I mean, as long as we're around 3, I don't think that we'll ever see those jumbo hikes again, those 75 basis point hikes again, as long as inflation hangs out around 3.5. So
yeah, Mark the Shark has a good comment here. He said published research shows cup and handle patterns are incredibly reliable. So I actually didn't even know this. 95% success rate on a continuation of an uptrend in a bull market. And then, you add into there, Mark the Shark, the fact that we're not talking about like a coin and crypto. Like, by the way, crypto, it still works. Technical analysis is still more reliable than not reliable. But because things can be so easily manipulatable, sometimes smaller altcoins, you gotta find a lot of confluence to be certain. When you move to stocks, when you move to oils, when you move to futures contracts, the TA just gets more and more and more reliable. But I didn't know that studies found 95% success rate on cup and handles. To me, T-Shroom, I think what we're talking about here is I think it's a pretty good indication we're going to see about a $93 price for oil, U.S. oil.
Yeah, which is not good at all.
Nope.
It's not good at the pump, and it's not good for inflation. It's not good for the economy. Corporations will it'll cut into their margins, right? I mean, maybe not so much for a company like C3.ai, which is mostly online, right? But as they're flying reps around the country, that could cut into their costs as airline tickets are maybe higher, the price of oil. But most companies in the Dow Jones are not unexposed to the price of oil. So anyway, I'll go on and on.
I want to make sure if anyone's sitting here, I mean, of course, I think we've broken this down pretty well, because whether you care or not, like, everyone buys gas, everyone buys goods, so this affects you in the crypto world as well. With all this happening and inflation going up, this actually, theoretically speaking, could end up leading towards people being maybe a little more bullish towards crypto with inflation going to the upside. But we'll have to kind of continue to watch how that plays out. But either way, go fill up your car, guys. Go get your car full just in case. Let's see. Crypto Sec guys, give another one. Is that a platypus behind you? So this is you, T-Shroom. Shout out to Eddie Cara, great guy, founder of Platypuses. So he created platypuses? I thought that was God.
Nice. Good one.
Yeah.
Yes. So you are watching the Saturday show right now. This is a Saturday edition of the Investing Bros, and it is revealed. The September gallery, NFT gallery behind T-Shroom. We've got one back here. We've got one right here and right here. And on Tuesday, I assure you I'll have more information about what these are. But yes, I mean, I know that this one's an ADA Inmates, super cool. This one I cannot remember the name of it. Obviously, it's some kind of a spin on the Mona Lisa in one way or another. And then this one here is a platypus, which has to do with fractional real estate, I think, or some kind of fractional ownership. Yeah. So it's, yeah, I'm not going to try to speculate on what it is, but it's cool. And I believe it's on Cardano as well. So, and then this one right here is just Dogecoin. And I've got the little delayed sticker over it because Dogecoin is delayed.
Yeah. Do you own any Dogecoin yet?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna wait. I don't own any right now, but I'm gonna wait. Probably buying some of that in October.
Yeah.
That's my zone.
Why don't we zoom out and talk a little bit about our personal strategies, and then we'll get into the news. Want to do that?
I mean, we can. Yeah, and I'm interested to see what other people are thinking. At the moment, I would definitely say so. I still have it's less than 50%, but it's definitely still a hefty percentage of Bitcoin. I like to keep that. I like to keep at least at all times 1% of Bitcoin there. I have a little more than 1 Bitcoin at the moment, but then I really want to diversify some of that away during the bull market to create more Bitcoin in the bull market. But I got some at the moment. I got some Matic. I got some definitely Cardano. Cardano is my second biggest bag. Got some Ethereum, probably my third biggest bag. XRP coming in fourth. Matic behind that. And I'm trying to think. That might be all that I have at the moment. I'd have to go back and look. I need to go back and look for sure. But when we do have the dip in October, that's when I plan. I'm not the type of guy, T-Shroom. I'm interested what you think. I'm interested what the chat thinks. I'm not the type of guy that wants to spread myself thin amongst like 30, 40 projects. I do believe in diversifying, but I don't believe in going nuts with that diversification. What I want to work on is getting into the real diversification of being invested in several different things. Crypto, this is the perfect time to be in crypto. But I want to get into real estate. Eventually, I will get into metals and stocks and others. But what are your portfolio looking like these days? And what's your plan?
I'm all in on crypto, Tim. I think that we're early for this cycle, but I think we're extremely early for the development of the technology of crypto. And so, I want to, and I'm going to be taking steps into DeFi of Cardano quite a bit more. And also, we're going to be bringing our audience along a little bit, the bros along into that as ADA Ace and I kind of make some content about crypto DeFi. But ADA Ace, I thought so he is in the hospital right now, or he's at home.
Yeah.
He had a
kidney stone, right?
Correct. And
so praying for him.
We feel bad for him. So, but
have you ever had one? Wait, have you ever had a kidney stone?
Definitely not. No.
I had one. It was not hospital worthy, but I had one. Those suck.
Yeah,
they
not
suck
good.
Bad.
Not good at all. But in terms of diversification and dry powder, I don't have as much dry powder as I want. I've been buying Bitcoin and BitX quite a bit, just DCAing. And but I did sell some old bags that I had, some old cannabis bags, cannabis stocks. And just took the equity out of that. I cut some major losses on that, which sucks.
Yeah.
Took some losses on that. But, now I have had a little bit more liquidity, but I already deployed it into Bitcoin around 26, 27. So I've got about $1,300 that I could potentially put in, back into Bitcoin. If it goes down, below 25, I probably will deploy that. But I've also got a lot of stocks. I've got like over $9,000 in stocks, and probably 4,000 of that is in profit that I could potentially sell to buy Bitcoin. And I've been thinking about it. But my big holding is Microsoft, and I don't know if I want to sell that because I bought that at the bottom of the COVID, and that's kind of the COVID dip. So it's kind of my my trophy in a way. So we'll see, but I don't really want to get into real estate too much, but it has a little bit more to do with kind of what my future looks like with traveling around the country. I don't want to have to own something and have to fly back and maintain it if there's flooding or something for some renters. So we'll see. I just want BlackRock to own all the real estate. They're just such a good group of guys.
Yeah,
and I trust them with the global real estate.
Yeah. That's true. I'll just invest in their ETFs, and then
exactly
it's like it's like all solid. No, here's the thing. Like This is Saturday, guys. This is Saturday. We're talking money here. I want to know what you guys think. What are some? Let's see in chat. I want to read some chat here about what you guys want to do investing wise in the future. What are your plans? What are things you guys are more interested in? Remember, for especially those of you guys who are OGs in the channel. Of course, we're a crypto channel. We talk crypto a lot. We talk about the charts and stuff, but remember that we named the channel Investing Bros, not Crypto Bros, not Trading Bros, not Chart Bros, Investing Bros, because in the future, right now, crypto is probably the best way to get bigger returns in your investing strategies. Doesn't mean it's the only way, and I don't even know if that means long-term it'll be the best way. Like at a certain point, you actually kind of want crypto to stabilize a little bit for more secure holdings. But I would love to, in the future on this channel, use this to talk about other ways to continue to create generational wealth, to continue to take a little and turn it into a lot, to be able to help you, your family, and everybody else that you're involved with. But Taylor and I have been looking a lot into real estate, and not in terms of owning a house just to rent it out, T-Shroom, but the concept of short-term rentals and other things. Like we've heard stories from people. We'll just tell you this, for example. They'll buy a house and they'll buy it in a right location. It's either it's a vacation spot or it's a reason, but a lot of business professionals have to come and spend a decent amount of time in. So what you do is you own the house somewhere. You're only renting it out for like a month or 2 months. But think about that. Like most people, when they rent a house, they have to rent for an entire year. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that don't want to be somewhere for a whole year. They just need to be there for a month or maybe 2 months. There's like laws in Maine. I really want to buy property in Maine because Maine has a state law that says when you rent a house or Airbnb a house, you can't just rent it for a weekend. You have to buy it you have to get it for an entire month, right? Or at least the area that we were looking at. There's a rule. You have to get an entire month. So what you can do is have these houses where your mortgage, let's just say you bought like a 4 or 5 bedroom house in a vacation spot. Families love to go and snowboard during the winter. They love to go fish and go ATVing during the summer. You're paying like, I don't know, let's say $3,000 a month in a mortgage. A lot of these places you can get away with these short-term rentals, and there's high demand for upwards of $8,000 to $10,000 a month. I've heard stories of people purchasing these houses and being able to pay off their mortgages within 5 to 10 years. Now, that's like perfection. I'm not saying it's gonna be that sweet, but there's lots of opportunities and ways to continue to utilize your money in the real estate game to make it very quickly. And that's what I'm very excited about. I mean, we're at the place, and I'm interested when people think about this. I'm interested what you think, T-Shroom, and we'll jump back into crypto stories. It's 11:37. We got a lot left. Mm-hmm. I'm in the boat. I've heard a lot of other wealthy people talk about this. I've heard investing people talk about this. They advise not owning the home you live in because you never know if you need to, if your income's so great and you want to have a bigger house, maybe you have more kids or maybe you just want more space. You never know when you want to upgrade or downgrade. But when you buy a house, you're kind of locked in there. Their heavy recommendation is taking every single dollar you have, investing it in something, renting where you live so you could constantly have whatever you need to get by, but putting your hard-earned money not into a house that's just sitting there with you living in it, but into another house that you can start making some property on. And it's something that Taylor and I have had a lot of conversations about over the last year about what our plan is, but I'm kind of leaning that direction. T-Shroom, what do you think about that? Would you rather own your house or would you rather live in a rental and use your money to invest in other things?
It's an age-old question, right? But I think it also has to do with what kind of interest rates are available at the time. And what is available on the market. And but if you're someone who plans on staying in the same geographical area for like a 5-year span, I think it can make sense to buy a house and build equity. I think it can make sense, but it's also true that if you can make more money buying a piece of property and renting it out, then it doesn't make sense. So it just kind of depends on what the state of the market is and what kind of interest rates are available for you. Mm-hmm. So it's a calculation. It's not a 1 or 0 going to be good or bad for everyone everywhere. And that's just for America too. I mean, all across the world, there's going to be wildly different answers to that question.
Yeah, Mr. Wrigley says $3,000 a month. What are you putting down? $100K. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of things factor in how much you put down. CryptoSet guy says, yeah, but rent is usually higher than a mortgage payment. So how does that make sense? Yeah, well, the way that works, CryptoSec guy would be, again, I would have full control over choosing to live in either a smaller house or a different house to try to keep my rent lower. You're absolutely right. You're paying the rent there. But if you do it correctly and you're putting all of your investment money into property that you can be making, $6,000 a month, $7,000 a month, $8,000 a month, you're doing it like that. And then you're covering your rent for where you're living. There's a lot of people that are able to do this and pay for their rent completely with their investments and still make profit on the back end of it. There's definitely, it's one of those things that I absolutely think, I see Ninja Glock says disagree with that definitely. I think there's a lot of different people and different camps on this one. It is not something for the faint of heart. It is not something to just be like willy-nilly and be like, oh, let me just buy other houses and try to rent them out and then rent my own house. No, it takes a lot of thinking. It takes a lot of strategizing. It takes knowing the market, knowing the areas. Like I said, you're looking at things like one of the areas, T-Shroom, that we also looked at is kind of funny. Gainesville has a teaching hospital that does a lot of things that you're not going to find in other hospitals. So there are people who literally go to the city of Gainesville for 3 months and they don't want to rent a house. These are usually doctors hiring people. So we're not even talking about like 3 bedrooms. We're talking about a 1-bedroom apartment close to the hospital. They need to get in and out. They are sometimes willing to pay upwards of $8,000 to $10,000 a month to stay there. Well, you get a mortgage on these places, a 1-bedroom place. The mortgage, yeah, it's a nice location, it's a nice apartment. You're probably talking about $3,000. You have to furnish the apartment because they're not going to bring in and move all their stuff in. So there's definitely investments here. But if you know what you're doing and you know the numbers and you learn it, which is what me and Taylor are trying to look into right now, not T-Shroom, Taylor, my wife, Taylor. There are people who are literally able to live life and go do whatever they want to do because they own like 5-6 properties spread out across the United States in very, very good locations. And they're able to live off of it. And of course, with me and Taylor, what we would do is I would still be doing Investing Bros. I love Investing Bros. We'd probably travel a good amount, but it's something that I'm looking into and I think could be really cool. So the more I learn, the more we'll talk about it here. That was a long segue away from crypto, but we were still in the investing realm. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And if I see other chat about it, we're going to continue to read it. Ninja Glock said, if you are unsure about how long you'll stay in a place, like if it's under 1 year, then rent or job security. Yes. And that's another thing is like, if we did have a place we wanted to settle down right and stay still, that's one thing. Something we talked about heavily, Ninja Glock. I grew up homeschooled. I was homeschooled my entire life. The first time I ever set foot in a classroom was in college. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to homeschool my kids or not. But let's be honest, everybody. Have you guys seen the public school system recently? Even the private school system. I've heard some crazy stories coming out of private schools about what's happening to kids and what people are being taught. I'm sitting here saying, and Taylor and I are talking about it like, we might homeschool not because it's like, oh, we think that we have to homeschool. And it's like, no, we want to have full control over what our kids are learning and what our kids are exposed to. So that's another thing is that that could keep us being able to move around and do whatever we want to do and homeschool our kids. Matt C gave a super chat. Thank you so much, Matt C. Said, Tim Warren. Yeah, well, here we go. But you have to be careful about assuming rental income will be stable and consistent. Many are defaulting on rental property loans because of lost rental revenues in this bad market. 100%, Matt C. 100%. Like I said, this is not something to just think you can throw money out into any property anywhere and it's going to be guaranteed money. There are lots of stories, as many stories as there are successes of people being able to quit their jobs and just full-time live off of this type of a thing. There are also stories of people who ruin their finances by doing it. So that's why you have, just like, let's talk about trading. How many people are completely 100% living off of their trades? Cough, cough, Mim, magic internet money. That dude is a freaking wizard. You hear success stories of these people who can completely live off of day trading and they're killing it. And then you have other stories of people trying to day trade and end up wasting their entire life savings. They lose everything and they go kaputs, right? Mm-hmm. Like everything else in life, you have to be calculated, smart, and know what you're doing. Because if you don't, you can get absolutely wrecked. So I agree with you 100%, Matt. And that is something that has caused me not to do it just yet. I got to learn more.
I think that's a good natural transition into our stories here because there are people who know what they're doing, and they're called whales. And let's see what they've been up to here. So Bitcoin whales load up on 1.5 billion worth of BTC amidst price uncertainty. Data from crypto analytics firm Into the Block reveals a significant uptick in the accumulation of Bitcoin by addresses holding at least 1% of the total BTC supply. That's a lot. It's valued at over 500 million each. These entities collectively added a staggering 1.5 billion to their holdings during the final 2 weeks of August. So, summarizing that for you guys is basically this: is wallets that have a lot of Bitcoin are buying more Bitcoin. And that's what I've been doing. I haven't been buying it maybe at the best price possible, or being as patient as I'd like to. But the whales are buying at similar levels that I bought at, actually. So, Tim, what does that mean to you? We've got a lot more stories here, but this is obviously bullish, but how bullish is it? Are these whales going to get slapped in the face?
Well, the one thing I do wonder about this, so first of all, if they bought anytime recently, like for them to have gotten a better price than what you have access to right now to buy Bitcoin, you're legitimately talking about they'd have to go back to March. So what is the timeline of them buying it? But more than likely, at best, they're buying at 25,200, 25,300. This is a thing that no matter what happens, whether 25.2 ends up being this short-term pullback bottom, or whether we pull back down to 20,000, in the grand scheme of things, let's say we're talking about an $150,000 to $200,000 Bitcoin, everyone will make profit on this. In fact, if people just hold on their Bitcoin, I know there are certain people out there that believe that Bitcoin will not hit new all-time highs. I think they're a little bit, they're just pessimists. They're Debbie Downers. They don't, I don't know. I'm not going to say they don't want it to, but it's almost like, are they just being the devil's advocate in the room because everybody else is so sure? And I get that. And guess what? A lot of times that's a good room. I've said it before. A lot of times when I make a prediction and I'm the only one saying it and everybody's telling me I'm wrong, that sometimes makes me feel more confident about my prediction, because that's very common for when everyone thinks the market's going to do one thing, it does the exact opposite. However, when it comes to setting a new all-time high, that is one thing that pretty much everyone thinks it's going to happen, and it more than likely will. And it's not because of hope, and it's not because of we really want it to. It's because it actually makes sense, especially when you're talking about the massive amounts of institutional dollars that will come into it. I understand why people could be skeptical, but institutions are not going to heavily invest the way they're going to do it and not have massive returns on it. They're just going to do it. They see a prime opportunity to make a lot of money in this next bull market. Now, I also think that they're going to potentially make some moves right here where they convince all of you guys, buy. Because even the story, we have become accustomed, like, who's watching crypto? Who's paying attention? Who's buying crypto right now? We're not talking about a bunch of noobs. We're talking about a bunch of people. I mean, just like everyone in this chat, you guys have been in crypto now probably for at least, if not, a little under a year. You guys have been watching crypto YouTube. You understand different tendencies. You understand the concept of whales are smart money. When they do things, more than likely if they're selling, that means it's probably going down. If they're buying, it's probably going up. However, I've seen lots of times, guys, when we were crashing down, remember the stories back in May of 2022. Now, this is before a bunch of other chaos happened, but there were stories of in May, whales were buying billions of dollars. It is by no means a sure thing that because we're seeing a report that says that whales bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin, that means the bottom is in. In fact, what it could even be is they're saying we're going to buy some now, knowing it's going to drop later, especially the institutional parts of this whale purchasing. And they're going to try to get you to buy a price pump so they can sell and take profit to dip the price back down lower so they can get their actual desired buying spot, which again, I believe is $20,000, $19,900, $19,700, that range. I'm just going to call it $20,000 range. That's what I continue to believe. I think that, the other thing is you're going to see when we start to move bullish, it's going to get explosive and it's going to get fast. Maybe you weren't in during 2021, but go back and look at the charts and talk to people who were invested back in 2020. When the bull market started, it came on fast, and it was one of those things that everyone kept saying, well, I'll just buy the next dip. I'll just buy the next dip. And then there were never dips until we were breaking new all-time highs. It was getting out of control. That's what's going to happen when the market's ready to go. That is what's going to happen, but it's not ready to go just yet. And so even though this is a bullish story, T-Shroom, even though we put that in the title, we did want to give it a ray of hope. And I'm not saying it's impossible that 25.2 is going to be the bottom of this pullback. It's possible. But to me, I hear this story and I think, good, whales are buying. They are wise and they're accumulating, and I think you guys should too. I'm not talking about waste all the rest of your dry powder on Bitcoin now, but I am saying, guys, when you see a 2 and a 5 at the front of the Bitcoin price right now, until we're talking about $250,000, this is a good time to buy. And that doesn't mean we won't go down to 20. When I see a 2.0, that's going to be a good time to buy. When I see a 1.9, that's going to be a good time to buy. All of these are good times to buy. Some of them are a little better than others. But too many people are going to sit here and say, I'm going to try to hit the exact perfect bottom. I think it's going to $19,722. So that's where I'm putting my buy order. That's not the right move. Put it a little higher just in case you missed it. In this case, continue to acquire Bitcoin just in case. Let's say we do break 25.2, but we only go to like 23,000, and then we don't make it to 20,000, and it shoots to the upside. Well, what good is it to be right about losing the $25,000 prediction, but not get all the way down to your buy-in order of 20,000? Whales are smart. They do not buy perfect bottoms. They buy good prices, and 25,000 is a good price. Continue to buy good prices, but continue to save dry powder for even better prices. And if your better prices never come to be, guess what? It's still a good price at 30,000, and it's still a good price at 35,000. I honestly think it is a good price to buy Bitcoin anything below $50,000. I do think once we get towards $50,000, it's a time to start getting a little bit more, hey, let's just see what happens with returns. Maybe explore with a little more trading because you're pretty safe at entering some trades at that point. But in terms of your long-term bags, try to accumulate a lot of Bitcoin below $50,000. And then let's watch to see what that turns into. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to make this easy. I'm not going to be like, I want you guys to know, Investing Bros is not going to be one of those channels when we're sitting at $100,000. Even if I think we're going to 150, that I'm telling people, you got to buy, you got to buy, you got to buy. I'm going to be telling you guys, hey guys, we got to be buying now. This is non-financial advice, but these are the low prices. Buy the stuff now. And then throughout the entire bull market, what we're going to be focused on is when to take profit. We're not going to be talking about when to buy during the bull market. That's what all of the new people are going to be asking. We're going to be talking about when to take profit. Now, we'll be telling all the new people coming in, hey, this is what price could get to. This is what but I'm going to try my absolute hardest not to be talking about bullish price action during times where we probably are going to be peaking out and having some 30% pullbacks. Now, what we will do is say, all right, we just hit a nice high point. We just pulled back a good 20, 25%. Now we're looking for some new entry points because it's not time for the bull market to be over. But kind of lost where I was going with this, other than just saying, like, don't try to think that you're going to pinpoint these exact bottoms. Don't read into this and say because whales are buying, that means this has to be the bottom and there's no more lower prices coming. That's not how it works. These are good prices, and we're going to have good prices for probably another at least 6, if not more months.
Yeah.
50,000 is when I'm going to start to say, hey guys, let's sit and watch.
Absolutely. Tim, well, I appreciate you keeping that answer brief. Let's go ahead and check out this some more stories here. Chainlink price begins recovery with successful completion of Swift experimentation across multiple blockchains. The success of the interbank messaging giant's experiment is likely acting as a bullish catalyst for the Link price. This was posted yesterday, so I wouldn't say that Link's price has really moved up too much, or nothing that would, constitute a change of this proportion quite yet, but it's a good step in the right direction for Link. Guys, if you don't own Link, there was a question asked earlier. If you had $300 bonus just kind of dropped in your lap from your job or whatever, what would you spend it on? Not a top 4 coin. I think Link would probably be one of the safer bets. Here's another story. China softens stance on court as court declares crypto cannot be seized is legal and civil property. This one's really interesting here, guys. In crypto-related crimes, authorities cannot simply seize crypto assets because they are banned. Owners still enjoy individual property rights as funds involved cannot be seized. But this is China, and property rights kind of have a different meaning over there from what I understand. So I'm not really exactly sure how to interpret this, but the markets have not interpreted this very bullishly, as this headline was coming out as Bitcoin was dipping on the bigger news, which is that the ETFs were all rejected. So this is a big step, though, in the continued narrative of the China thawing towards Bitcoin. There still exists a capital freeze or a capital ban on Bitcoin and other crypto ownership, but I guess if you do own it, then they can't seize it from you. I'm not really not really sure how to interpret this. Tim, do you have anything? Is anything really jumping out at you as clear about this story, or are you as pretty much as confused as I am?
Well, I'm not going to talk about the exact details of the story, but the ramifications of China becoming more pro-crypto. We've said this before, and I'm going to do my best to keep this one brief. BRICS nations, there's an article actually at the moment on Watch.Guru over on X.
Sure.
Where we're talking about RFK is talking about why BRICS is leaving and why they're becoming a thing in the first place. It's because the U.S. dollar has been used by the United States to weaponize their power and control. And the BRICS nations have come together and saying, we're sick of the United States trying to tell us what to do. So they don't have a good currency situation going on. The Chinese yuan is plummeting. We're watching the Chinese economy have a lot of problems. The Russian ruble is still under a lot of sanctions. They're not doing very well. I'm not going to imagine Brazil's currency is doing that well. I'm not going to imagine India's currency is doing well. They don't have a good currency. They don't have a good solution. They're just sick and tired of the U.S. dollar and the United States government trying to tell them what to do and what they can do and what they can't do. And as an American citizen, how do you not understand that, right? We don't like all the ways the American government tries to tell us what to do, let alone a different country who's like, we didn't sign up to be governed by the United States. We're trying to be our own sovereign nation, right? So it makes sense. Well, if they don't have any good currency, what is the next best step, T-Shroom? It is to get into cryptocurrency. It is to get into something that has strong value, that can circumvent the U.S. dollar, that the United States government does not have control over and will not have control over. It's the most logical sense. Now, a lot of these countries in the BRICS nation do like to be a little bit more authoritarian. So there is kind of probably an inner wrestling amongst them saying, oh, if we do this, our people are going to have more freedom, but we'll have freedom from the United States. So the good outweighs the bad is kind of what I'm saying. But I think China is backed up into a corner. China, Russia, Brazil, India, everyone else in BRICS nations, all the new ones, I think they're all saying, you know what? Screw it. Yeah. Let's go with this freedom money because we're tired of being told what to do by the United States. We'll take the freedom from us as a government, and that means our people will have a more freer money. That's good for all of us who are investing in cryptocurrency, but I'm very interested to see how the United States responds to that, because if we do not respond wisely to it, we very well could see the United States have a lot of problems moving forward when it comes to global control, global authority, global influence. Even like the time of authority might be coming to a close. Will the United States government even have influence is a question moving forward, especially if the BRICS nations heavily adopt cryptocurrency, which they probably will.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I generally agree with that. Tim, I think it's high time, that the dollar has some competition, and the product that is currency, gets better, and essentially is not inflationary anymore.
Yeah.
At the very least, at least what you're earning is going to be roughly the same value 5 years or 10 years from now. And with crypto,
True.
Obviously that's now a possibility. Just need adoption. All right, guys, taking a look here at an interesting story we found just before we started. YouTuber loses $60,000 worth of crypto after showing seed phrases on live stream down in Brazil. So this is the video of him accidentally showing his seed phrases.
This is rough.
Boom, right there. You can see him. I don't think it's really worth trying to do anything, but you can see his face. He realizes what he just did. And he's like, oh, goodness.
Caralho, acho que eu fiz cagada aqui, mano.
Again, in Portuguese, so you don't really know what he's saying unless you speak Portuguese. But yeah, that's pretty rough. And then you can see that he's not really too excited about that. Tim, how would you feel if $60,000 was just taken off your Coinbase account like that because you accidentally shared your seed phrase?
Yeah. So here's that sucks. Honestly, that's really rough. I know some people have done this transparently. I try to be like open about things, but I
Nossa, cara.
purposely do not discuss. Is that the YouTube channel still going? I think we
Yeah, I'm
established
messing
still
with
going.
it. I'm messing with it.
I purposely never fully disclose all of my money and what value I have, just so because I don't want people looking up and finding my wallets and then finding some way to hack into it. So a lot of YouTubers, when they're posting these pictures of what their trades look like and they're posting and they go live onto their exchange things, I'm like, listen, I know there's a way to probably do this securely, but I don't want to play with fire. And this guy right here, it looks like he was playing with fire. He'd played with fire before, and he made a colossal mistake by revealing way too much information. I don't want people knowing anything. Like, I don't want people knowing how much I have. I don't want people knowing where my money is put in what exchanges and what wallets and what this. And I absolutely am never, ever, ever, ever going to have my seed phrases on my computer, let alone in a place where I could share my screen and those get exposed. My key phrases are on a piece of paper, multiple pieces of paper, spread in places that you guys will never know. And that's because I'm not going to play with fire, and I feel really bad for this guy, but that sucks.
You didn't take advantage of the Ledger offering where you can send them your seed phrases and they'll send it to different entities.
Was that an actual thing? Was that
that was like a huge news story for like a week when Ledger came out and did that, and everybody started hating Ledger. You don't remember that?
I must have been sleeping.
It was a product where it was for new people coming into crypto, where you could put your seed phrase in and then you could opt into a program that they had where I think you had to pay for it too, where they would send your seed phrases to like a corporation, some other person, and then like, whatever. But which in theory, someone coming into crypto for the first time, they might hear that and be like, oh, that's an interesting idea. But obviously that's a terrible idea because those entities, all they would need to do is figure out who each other is, and then they can just take all your money. Because, crypto is trustless. It's not supposed to have trust elements to it. It can have counterparties, right, that you could sue, but there shouldn't be trust going on. All right, so anyway, that's that story, guys. Not your keys, not your crypto. Tales all this time.
Keys, not your crypto. Crypto Set Guy says, "Is that a challenge, Timmy?" No, it is not a challenge, Crypto Set Guy. Again, I don't think you could do anything, but again, that's not a challenge either because I am genuinely afraid of you and your hacking ability. So please don't don't even try. But
yeah. Well, if you do get your all of your crypto stolen or $60,000 worth of it, there's good news because you at least won't have to worry about chronic depression. There's a news story here on Decrypt. Just one dose of magic mushroom psychedelic can ease depression for weeks, a study has found. And then they've got the results here in a nice little infographic. Take a look at this. So they did 52 women and 52 men, underwent a study here. Psilocybin, 51 people got it, of men and women, and then 53 got niacin, which is, I believe, is like a... I'm not really exactly sure what that is, but there was also a control. This is conducted by like an official, scientific lab, JAMA. I have no idea what that is. Journal of Academic Medical Association, probably. Yeah. Take it for what it is, guys. It's an article here in decrypt.co. But the findings were mean change in score from baseline. Psilocybin did negative 19.1, and then niacin did negative 6.9. I believe these are both psychedelic active ingredients. So psilocybin was associated with significantly reduced MADRS scores versus niacin. And then the average between the two different groups and change was the average of these two, negative 12. So the MADRS, I'm assuming, that's depression. So anyway, you continue to see a march towards big pharma having shaking in their boots as there's some medicines basically that you could grow in your own basement, which I would not recommend doing. That is not something I recommend at this time. But the technology could get to there where you're actually able to produce solutions for yourself. You don't have to rely on these large pharmaceutical companies that are bad in so many ways. So my name is T-Shroom on here, and there are reasons for that more than just the catchy sound. I do believe in the promise and the possibility of mushrooms being used in the future for medical applications and non-medical applications. I'm not saying that is here yet. There are some pretty good gurus out there that could walk you through a psychedelic experience to heal, but many of those are not legal, so I'm not recommending you do that. There's some places in Oregon and Canada where I think it is getting Mexico where it is kind of legal, but so I'm a believer in it, right? Theoretically, but I'm not saying go do it right now, definitely. And definitely don't do it without a guide.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things like that we could discuss there. Mark the Shark, by the way, said niacin is what you take to flush out your system to pass a drug test. And then a mellow fellow confirmed that and said, don't ask me how, but then he said, don't ask me how I know that. Interesting. Niacin is a vitamin B3 is what Dustin Singer is saying. I don't have a lot of experience with any of this stuff, but I do know, reading studies even more recently, PTSD they've seen some amazing responses with certain levels of psychedelics and shrooms to help heal and cure some stuff with PTSD. I was talking with a friend the other day about my big belief in medical use of marijuana. I had a friend growing up who they had a little brother. He was born with a lot of health problems, was on like 8 different medications. This kid, he was nonverbal till he was like 7 years old. Eight things. He was very awkward. He shook, like he was constantly shaking, like the kid's body was just wrecking. He was constantly in pain. He was constantly crying. And they were, I don't remember the exact process, but they got him onto marijuana for medicinal purposes. He was able to go off all 8 of the drugs. He began to speak. He's still a little bit different, I guess is the best way to put it. Like he's not like, it's not like you would meet him and be like, oh, this kid's a completely normal kid. But the night and day difference between those 8 drugs he was taking in pill form that the doctor told him to take versus the marijuana, it was just completely different. So I've been a big believer in the medical use of these things. And this is another thing, is like anything can be used for evil and craziness. Shout out to, you guys know Smay. A lot of you guys know Smay from back in the coffee and crypto days. I keep in touch with him. But something happened. He was in the I don't know if you know this, T-shirt. He was in the hospital this week. And he's going to be okay. But he's been doing he's been working out a lot. He's been eating really good, but he's been pushing his body too hard. He had to go to the hospital because he literally pushed himself almost to kidney failure. So it's like, who's going to say, like, are we going to start saying that working out is bad for you and you shouldn't be working out? No, of course not. But if you work out too hard and you don't have a proper rest and recovery process, working out can be bad for you in the same way. Too much marijuana, too many mushrooms, too much this, too much that, everything in moderation and in control and being tested correctly. There's a lot of things. I'm not going to say everything. Most things can be used in some sort of positivity way. Overusage of it, inappropriate usage of it, unresearched usage of it. Yeah, those things can be really bad for you. So interesting topic, T-Shroom.
Archie jumping in the chat saying, yo, yo, yo.
Archie, what up, Archie?
It. And then
I saw Kelly in here earlier too. So shout out to Kelly Kellum as well. Andreas T said Tim's a THC maxi.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Dave Digital, but he's a member. Okay, there we go. Dave Digital. As Christians, good question. Good way to start it. That's always a very interesting topic. As Christians, what are your thoughts on shrooms / spirit realm? Asking as a Christian after a recent terrifying / revealing experience, is there a chance we are eating from the devil's table? That's a very interesting question, Dave. And you know what? We're going to answer it. And it's Saturday. We're at 12:08. We're going to keep going. We still going to talk college football here.
And we're going to answer it definitively and once and for all.
This is the final answer of all of it. Let's put it this way, Dave. As a Christian, I believe that God made all things. Now, some people take that to extremes and they're like, "Oh, God made everything." That's me. No. God also made plants that are poisonous. Don't go take those plants. But I do believe that there are things that God created for us to use. Like I said, looking at these studies of people with PTSD, and then they're taking shrooms in correct and controlled dosages, and they're experiencing breakthrough like they have not seen in a very, very long time. So how can I not sit there and how do I sit there and deny the the positive outcomes of using this. That has to lead me to a place to say the Lord, when he made us and he made the planet and he grew these things, he understood and he told us, those of you who are Christians, he told us to have dominion over the earth and to subdue it. Well, that means he gave us what we needed. We were made to explore, to think, to experiment, to understand how he made the world for us. That's why, like, when I hear people say, oh, if you're a Christian, you're anti-science, or if you believe in science, you're an anti-Christian. I'm like, no, I believe that we have not completely figured it out, but the science actually absolutely 100% backs up who God is and his founding. That being said, like I just said, anything taken irresponsibly, out of control, in abuse is a negative thing. I've heard stories of people on hallucinogens. This is what's crazy. I've heard stories of people who became Christians who fell in love with Jesus because of experiences they had with shrooms or different things. I've heard of people who think that that's the only way they can talk to God. I think that's a little far-fetched. I do believe that that's false. But I'm sitting here saying, like, I don't know the answer. But I do know that there are people who have come into contact with shrooms and done hallucinogenics that it actually changes their life completely and actually does make them come into a relationship to better understand their creator and God. That being said, I do not advise them. I do not tell people just to go take them blindly. I think, again, as T. Shumi even kind of implied, medical professionals, services that are, they know what they're doing. They guide you through it. I think that those are things that I'm not going to ever participate in myself, but I do believe that I'm not going to necessarily cast stones and say I think that that's a sin or evil. But I also think every single person should get to know themselves and how they respond to things. I know of people who have even just very small amounts of marijuana, their body reacts almost like in an allergic fashion, where they're high for an entire week. They hallucinate. I'm like, I think that's the type of person that's like, hey, know your body. You shouldn't be eating this. Here in the United States, I think that most things were made good and then we've come in and we've ruined it. Like, for example, the amount of people in the United States who are not good with gluten. I'm like, hey, know your body. If your body doesn't respond well to bread products, don't say, well, this guy eats bread and he's completely fine. No, you guys have completely different bodies. You react differently. Know yourself. Know what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Know what you react well to and what you don't react well to, and stay away from things you don't react well to. And I think there's certain people out there that could react well to drugs of some kind, and there's other people that don't respond well. Get to know yourself and know what works for you, and be responsible with it. The other thing, last thing I'll say, T-Shirt, I want to get your take on this. My other belief as a Christian is that I would never, I don't necessarily really like alcohol. And some people think that means I'm judgmental. I have no judgment whatsoever on people that drink. I do believe the Bible's clear about what a drunkard is. And that doesn't mean just because you get drunk one time, you're the worst person in the world. But if you make a pattern in your life of getting drunk, if you make a pattern in your life of getting high, my question to you is, what are you trying to do with it? Are you literally just having fun? Or are you trying to escape things? Because I do not believe the answer to pain and suffering is to escape with alcohol or drugs of any kind. I do think alcohol can be a place of great enjoyment and festivity. I do believe drugs can be a place of creativity and relaxing and healing. But if you're trying to escape pain and suffering with it, just my personal belief is, man, you need a relationship with Jesus. You need actual healing internally. And I'm not talking about inside your body. I'm talking about inside your heart, your mind, and your soul. And I believe that alcohol and drugs should be used as forms of life and joy and healing, not in terms of just trying to get rid of internal pain and then you get lost in them, if that makes sense. I want to see people be completely healed. French Toaster said, did Jesus turn water into wine? He did. Guess what, guys? I don't know if this is the first place you ever heard it. Did you guys know that Jesus is not anti-alcohol? Did you guys know that he was actually accused of drinking too much by the priest? I don't believe that Jesus was like drunk, blacked out drunk or anything, but do you know that people watched Jesus drinking alcohol and accused him of being drunk? Clearly, Jesus is not anti-alcohol. I don't know who needed to hear that today, but please, that doesn't mean drink irresponsibly. Jesus drunk very responsibly. He always had control over his choices. You can do the same. So, T-Shirt, we're going deep here in this topic on Investing Pros Saturday. What are your thoughts?
I think that mushrooms, especially, but also cannabis, especially if taken without any kind of research being done, are extremely powerful and dangerous substances. They can be mind altering, and they can change your life. Right now, with that said, they're here, they exist, right, and they're more and more. There's anecdotal evidence and there's now scientific evidence showing that they can be beneficial to people, especially people who are in extreme situations mentally, right? And they haven't been able to find any relief. Now, when it comes to my Christian and my personal beliefs, there's a lot of verses in the Bible that definitely tend to show that maybe using substances in place of God is not a good idea. No. But I think someone who has a good relationship with God and feels like they're walking in what the Bible says in the Spirit, I think that everything on earth is kind of open to you. That is what true freedom is. Now if you're walking in the Spirit, it's in you're probably not going to ingest things that make you go out of your mind, right? Yeah. But you have the freedom to. And I think in our modern time, you also have the possibility to obtain information of how to have those experiences in a responsible, in a moderated, and in a beneficial way, and in a helpful way. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not saying super strongly one side or the other, but I think that what I said is pretty balanced, and it's what I believe. And I think in the future, like in the next 5 to 10 years, I think that these substances, and I think that the younger generations are going to look at these substances as kind of like, kind of how we view maybe a theme park, or how we, there's definitely risk to going on a roller coaster, right? But engineers have spent many hours and they're working on tops of a foundation of just the laws of physics, right? To be able to help people have an experience that's facilitated through this advanced science and advanced measurement to be able to make a roller coaster work. I think in the same way, over the next 5 to 10 years, these experiences with these substances are going to come with still a risk, right? It's still not 0 people that are hurt by roller coasters every year, right? It's definitely not 0, right? But I think you guys are connecting the dots from what I'm trying to say. So I think right now you're still taking a pretty big risk using these substances without a guide, without research. I would say just don't even do it. If you're not willing to put the research in, don't do it at all for weed or for mushrooms. But I think over the next 5 to 10 years, there's going to be experiences that are highly studied and have very low risk that are going to be able to change your life for the better, or just let you have a positive experience that's mind expanding and really cool and fun. And that's not a bad thing to have fun, as long as it, what you're doing and you realize the risks.
Yeah. I think even kind of as we wrap out this one, and we're going to get into some college football here as we're wrapping up the show. I think the big one here, guys, is to understand the control factor, you having control, and the staying away from addiction. And I'll tell you what, guys, it's not just alcohol, drugs, that's addiction. Your addiction to anything, like being able to have control of your life and be able to walk away from things, is very important. Did you guys know that technically speaking, your body is addicted to water and you're addicted to food? Now, those are not bad addictions, obviously. That's part of how you grow and eat. But if you ever wondered, like a lot of spiritual things, like a lot of different religions include in some form of fasting. They'll tell you also, if you ever, I don't know if anyone's done this. I've done it before. I've done what's called a dry fast, meaning no food, no water for a certain period of time. I did 3 days. On day 2, I wasn't hungry at all. I was thirsty. I thought I was going to die because I was so thirsty. What does that sound like? A lot of people think they're going to die when they're going through a withdrawal of any type of other thing we'd use for addiction, alcohol, drugs, whatever. But by day 3, I actually was not. I mean, I was very happy to drink water at the end of day 3, but it was not as bad. You're addicted to things. When you fast, you have to go through that pain of saying, I'm really hungry, but I'm going to avoid this. And the whole purpose of the fasting is to teach you and teach your body that you do not have to depend upon anything, that you eat, you will survive, and you're getting away from the addiction of anything. So when it comes to drugs and alcohol and anything else, again, to put a flat level on it and say all of this is evil, it's against God, that is not the case whatsoever. Can it be used for evil? Absolutely. Can it be used as an addictive thing? Absolutely. And you've got to stay away from that. But that's another thing. When a lot of people are sitting here, Matt C says, I'm addicted to Tim. Wow. Well, then we got to spend some time apart, Matt C. I I want to encourage all of you guys to think about this in a way that's like, first of all, we cast no judgment on any single person who struggles. No single person, like it is an actual disease. Like it is something that you have to be able to stay away from. And a lot of people are going to wonder how do I do it? How do I actually keep myself in this life where I'm living without pain, but I'm staying away from these addictive things? And you know what? There's a lot of people out there that are very real right now, are struggling. They have no hope. They have no answers. They have nothing to go to. They think that they either need to numb this pain or they will literally die. And to those people, that's very real. And that's one of the reasons why I firmly believe, no matter what other people's religions are, and I'm not sitting here, I'm not going to try to shame anyone or push anyone. I believe in the healing power of Jesus. I believe that he is God, that he is the Son of God, that he came to heal us from the ultimate addiction, and that addiction is sin. And he gives a hope in a way that I've never seen anything else in this world give hope. Now, if you find hope in other things that are wholesome and great, more power to you. Again, I've met people of other religions that I see them, I'm like, man, you look like one of the most peaceful people I've ever met, and that is awesome. I love it. I might disagree on some things about how life works, but my ultimate, and I want you guys, God's ultimate goal in your life is that you live a life of peace, that you live a life of purpose, you live a life of joy. The pain that we go through in life caused by the sin that we as mankind have brought in breaks the heart of our Creator. And his whole goal in sending Jesus to come is not to put you into a bondage where you have to obey him and live this perfect life so you make it up to him. It's because he sees the pain of sin and he loves us too much to leave us in it. And he sent us something that would be a hope and a solution to the problem of pain and suffering and sin. So just so you guys know, that's how I believe it. That's how T-Shroom believes it. We don't use this channel to try to push religion. We choose this channel to bring life and joy and to help people walk through things. A lot of people in life struggle with money situations. And I'm like, man, is there a way that we can utilize cryptocurrency and the education of it to help people out of their financial limitations, their financial slavery situations, so that they can focus on the things in life that are more important? And when you're able to focus on the things that are life that are more important, you're able to focus on what is that peace that I'm looking for? What is that joy that I'm looking for? Is that Jesus? Is that something else? A lot of people can never even set their eyes on bigger things because money is such a problem. So for this channel, that is what our purpose is. Our purpose is to help people escape the problems of financial liability, financial restrictions, so they can think on bigger and better things. So that was a lot. Thank you for all the support. But Elliot Locke says, investing bros, we all love our gods, but right now God is telling me to tell you football. All right, here we go, guys. It is 12:22, which means some of these games are currently happening. But I want to take a look at college football. Let's go ahead and share my screen, T-Shroom. Yeah, we're starting some of these. I'm going to scroll down some of these games that I found interesting. There's some games that I think are very interesting. Like this one, like these ones up here, Michigan, East Carolina. Guys, Michigan's going to win. Why are we even going to talk about that? It's just not, it's not going to be. I'm going to look at some games that are interesting and have some scores that would suggest it's more than likely to be less than a 10-point game. Tennessee's going to beat the crap out of Virginia. Who cares about that one? TCU versus Colorado. Very interesting game. A lot of people are down on Colorado. They're up 7-0 at this moment. So you got to give them that. I think TCU squeaks out a win here. I don't know if Colorado is ready, but I think this game's going to be a little more interesting than others predicted. This is one that I think there was like a 17-point spread. That is too much. I think that it's a TCU win, but even right now, 7-0 Colorado. Do not be surprised if this is a nail-biter that goes down to the last second. TCU wins by 7 points. That's my prediction. Let's keep moving on. Look at some other interesting games. Liberty versus Bowling Green. This is a really tight game. I think there was only like a spread of like 3 points. I think Liberty has it, though. They got a great new coach. The offensive system that he runs, that he ran at Coastal Carolina, crazy good offensive system. Definitely something that I think is going to make Liberty a very good school. I think they take it against Bowling Green. They're up 7-0. Let's see. In chat, give me topics you want to talk about, but also price action. I'm going to run through ones that I found interesting and give my take. Purdue versus Fresno State. Very close game. Purdue, of course, lost quarterback, lost coaches, lost a lot of defensive players. Probably not going to be as good as they were last year when they won their side of the Big Ten, but I do think they win this game. I think this was like a 5-point spread. I think that they could cover it. I think Purdue could win by a touchdown here, but again, closer game than Purdue fans would like for it to be. Keep moving down. BC versus Northern Illinois. Both these schools are not very good. I think BC is favored. I think I'm going to go ahead and take BC just because they're probably going to have some better offensive line and defensive line play, just being a bigger school. But I don't think either one of these teams necessarily have too much talent on the offensive side to put up big points. Let me know what you guys think there. Archie says no, not American football. Archie, listen, we'll talk about other football during other times. Max PP says, I think TCU loses. I mean, maybe Colorado's a lot more legit than I thought. I think I even talked to my brother. Some of you guys know that I have a brother that played college football at the University of Rhode Island. He had 2 different tryouts at the Seattle Seahawks and has pretty much been told that they love him. They just roster is full. So if anyone gets hurt, they're calling him up, even if it's mid-season. So I was asking him what his thoughts were. It's like, man, in a college locker room, because you've been in one, how hard is it to let alone bring in a couple new faces, but in reality, bring in pretty much an entire new team? And he's like, yeah, like it's going to be a struggle for them this year. So while Colorado might be a top 15 talented team in the country, there's almost no chemistry. The other thing is Colorado doesn't have a lot of money. So Deion Sanders is one of the most influential coaches out there. He's got a big personality. I'm not worried whatsoever about him motivating his players to give it their best shot. His salaries, though, that he has to pay assistant coaches, I'm not convinced that Colorado has the best X's and O coaches. So when you're combining in a brand new team that a lot of them have never played together, they all have big personalities thinking they're going to come in and be the best thing. That's not a good recipe for success when everyone thinks they're going to be the best. And you factor in that I don't know if the coaches are necessarily the top tier X's and O coaches. I don't think Colorado's going to be as good as some people think. Now, clearly they got off to a good start here, but I still think they lose TCU. And I think that I think 5 to 6 wins for Colorado area is pretty interesting. Let's keep moving on, though. Some other games I found that were interesting to take a look at, give my take on them. This one could be a little – Boise State's one of those sneaky teams against Washington. Washington's going to win this game. They're favored by 14. But Boise State has a way of taking not very talented players out of high school and turning them into something good. It's a great program. Washington wins, but I don't know if Washington will cover that spread. Washington's got a good offense, so maybe they do cover the spread. But don't expect Boise State to be like an easy win whatsoever. Let's keep looking here at some other interesting games. A lot of these are pretty much blowouts. California versus North Texas. California wins, but they're only favored by 6. I don't know. Like, North Texas has some good years and some bad years. Sativio Shimoto says Gators will not lose today. That's right, because they lost on Thursday.
That's 100% true.
Yeah, it's very true. It's a good day to be a Gator if you don't want to lose. I think California wins, but again, I'm not familiar with what California has. They always seem to have like a decent quarterback, but then like the rest of their cast is usually suspect. Mm-hmm. Let's see what else we have here that is interesting.
Oop.
What happened?
Nothing. Carry on.
Oh, I don't know. West Virginia versus Penn State. This is going to be a blowout. Penn State favored by 20 points. West Virginia, yeah, they don't have what they need. Penn State's a legitimate contender this year. This is the game day atmosphere this year. North Carolina versus South Carolina, a 2.5 point favor for UNC, but this is one. Drake May is a great quarterback, in my opinion, guys. Great quarterback. Probably will be the second pick of the draft if he doesn't do something crazy and outplay Caleb Williams this year and win the Heisman or something. But I think South Carolina has the better roster. And I know Elliott Locke is going to just have a field day with that. They're not the real Beamer ball. They stole that from the legitimate Beamer ball players over at Virginia Tech. Matt C says, Tim, Cal sucks. Yeah, that's my thought. I just don't know how good North Texas is. As far as North Carolina versus South Carolina, I'm going Gamecocks on this one. I think that North Carolina's defense has been terrible for a long time, and I don't think there's any reason to suspect that will be better. I think they will put points up on South Carolina, but not as many as they will allow because South Carolina doesn't have a sloppy offense either. I'm thinking this game's probably somewhere in the range of 35-28 or something. I don't think it's a blowout by any means, but I think I think it's one of those games that South Carolina controls it the whole way, but it never gets to a place where it's a sure win, and then just South Carolina just wins it. That's my take about that game. This game, the game of the day, Virginia Tech versus Old Dominion. We should win. We got a 16-point favorite. Listen, there's a lot of reason for optimism. And as an inside, fan, and I've been following them in the offseason, I think Virginia Tech is going to be a lot better than people think. We are not ready to compete for the ACC, but I do like our defense. Our coach is a defensive guy. In reality, last year, our defense was a good defense who just was always on the field because of how bad our offense is. Our offensive line should be a little bit better, not a lot bit better, but we have way better running back options. We have night and day difference of wide receiver options. And as bad as our quarterback played last year, those of you who are football fans, you know how hard it can be to be a quarterback when your offensive line can't give you any protection and you have no running game whatsoever. And in reality, you have receivers that can't get open. Like the entire offense for Virginia Tech last year was the worst offense I have seen in a long, long time. I'm not expecting us to be world beaters. I'm not expecting us to average 50 points a game, but I think this is an offense that could average 30 to 35 points a game. I think we can win 7 to 8 games this year. And I'm not saying we're going to compete for the ACC championship, but I do think that we're slowly working back to being a good program like we were in the past with the original Beamer Ball, Frank Beamer, not Shane Elliott. Let me know what you think about that. So let's go to Matt C's team over here, UCLA, Coastal Carolina. UCLA is going to win this game. But Matt C., tell me you are not just a little bit concerned about Coastal Carolina, because despite the fact that their coach left to go to Liberty, they still had a good roster, and I'm not aware of too many crazy transfers from that roster. There's also a bunch of good old boy rednecks from down here in Carolina. I think it's going to be a dogfight. I think it's going to be a physical game that I think UCLA wins because they're just more talented. They're going to be better coached. But Coastal Carolina is a scrappy team. I still think UCLA wins that one, though. The biggest one of them all, why is it not on here? Because it doesn't happen until tomorrow. The game of the week, hands down. Oh, we have 2 more. Clemson's going to beat Duke. Duke's a good team, but Clemson's going to beat Duke. I think they'll cover the spread. LSU versus Florida State. This is a legitimate playoff game.
That's a cool game.
Both these teams are not going to make the playoffs, but I do think these are 2 teams that could equally deserve, and that's really painful for me to say. You guys know I hate Florida State, but I'm not going to lie on here. Matt C says, Tim, nope, this is our deepest team in 8 years. NFL guys all over. Matt, I hear you, but UCLA has a way of sometimes making things look harder than they should be, especially early on in the season. You and I both know that. They have a great offense. Sometimes the defense doesn't always show up. UCLA. We're talking about, Matt C's a UCLA fan, so he's arguing me in chat.
Oh,
right. Crux says Florida State's going to take that. Here you go. As much as I hate Florida State, I will say, from a talent perspective, I want to see what Georgia has because there's so many players that were like 5-star or high 4-star players in the Georgia roster that are going to play in the NFL. They just haven't played yet. We don't know exactly what's happening there. Florida State probably has the best roster in college football of what we know people can do. Now, again, a lot of transfers, got to see how they play together, making sure, is there going to be this cast of stars that each one individually wants to be the star and they wrestle each other? I don't think so. I think the coaches are pretty good at Florida State. I think Florida State's back. But you got to prove it first. Everyone can say they're back until they get punched in the face. Florida State's a good program. They're recruiting the coach they have after having a string of terrible coaches. They got the right coach. They have a good system. They have money coming in like nothing. I think it's good for college football that Florida State's back. Honestly, guys, I think that the college football needs to have Texas come back and be a good program. We, of course, have Alabama and Georgia, the 2 premier. Ohio State is a premier. It's good that Michigan is good again. I think programs like Florida State, Texas, USC, Penn State, these are very big programs that have historically great atmospheres and great fans. They need to be good. And then you have the kind of the second tier schools. I would throw Virginia Tech into that, Miami. Who else would I put in that boat? I'd probably put, like Wisconsin, UCLA, Washington, Oregon. These second tier ones that have historical great fan bases and great games. college football needs all these programs to be good. It got rough there for a little bit. When we always knew it was going to be Alabama and Clemson playing for the national championship, that makes for kind of boring college football. We need some legitimate contenders, and LSU and Florida State are two legitimate contenders. Not predicting either one of them to actually win the national championship. I still think it's hard to root against. It's hard to vote against Georgia at this point until proven otherwise.
All right, Tim, I'm gonna pause you because I feel like this could go on forever, and I have phone calls to make. And
all right, we're wrapping it up. We're wrapping it up. Well, we went on so long about drugs that we have to now talk about college football. Here's the thing.
It's my fault. Yeah, okay.
It's all your fault. Yeah. Okay. My call, I think that they won last year. I think LSU is a lot better than people think. I think LSU squeaks out a close win, and it doesn't ruin either season. I think Florida State could easily still win the ACC and go to the playoffs, but I think LSU wins this game. Revenge. That's my take. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat.
Last question though? Is
I thought we had to wrap it
woke?
Up. I thought we had phone calls.
Crypto Archie wanted to know: is UCLA woke? I think all American universities are woke.
Pretty much. I maybe not Coastal Carolina and App State. I think Coastal Carolina and App State are not woke. They're just a bunch of good old rednecks that go there. But other than that,
I think it's like 1 out of every 10 university professors are Democrats, which doesn't mean that they're woke. I mean, woke is like
1 out of
specific. 10? Yeah.
You mean 9 out of 10?
1 out of 10 is Republicans. Goodness.
There we go.
Registered Republicans.
Yes.
See, I'm sorry. The end of the stream here, but yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not good. I mean, that's a terrible statistic for diversity of thought. You also wouldn't want it to be all Republicans. That wouldn't be good. Just because you want diversity, but
yeah. Well, guys, that is going to wrap out our Saturday show. We covered a lot of ground here. We covered crypto. We covered real estate. We covered drugs. We covered Christianity. We covered college football. Name a show in all of America on the interwebs that covered more ground than we covered today in only an hour and a half.
Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman.
Nope, he doesn't do it all in one episode. He spreads it out over many episodes. We had 1 hour and a half long show. We covered all of that. There's no one else doing that out there. And for that reason alone, you need to smash that like button. For that reason, if you are new here, you need to subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Again, we're going to be out on Monday for Labor Day, but we will be back on Tuesday. Love all of you guys. You guys have a fantastic 3-day weekend. See you on Tuesday.
And if you're cruising, cruise Royal Caribbean.
And get a bruising.
Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor of the TA. Shouted out loud on the PA. T-Shrooms news, got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.